In this video, if you're trying to get into high ticket sales or you're looking for your first role, I'm going to tell you why some people come into this and they fail and why other people come into this and start making 10 to 20K a month. So what is the difference? Well, what I see a lot of people do when they first get into this is you probably found out about high ticket sales being a closer from social media. So on social media, everyone is telling you, hey, you can make 10, 20K as a closer, jump in, right? And yes, that is true. You can do that and you can make a lot more than that. But what happens is people will get into this, and then if they don't land a 10K a month role like immediately in their first job, they think that is some kind of failure. But in reality, the specific job that you got into was the failure, not high ticket sales as a whole. So this is a typical example that happens to people who quote unquote fail at this. Let's say you come into this and you land your first role and you end up making 5 to 6K a month in that role. Or even you get in there and you're only making like 2K a month. As an extreme example, that's still not a failure in my eyes, and this is why. One, there's ramp time in any sales role. So it may be 3 to 4 months where you make a much lower amount, and then that ramps up to 10, 15K a month after 4 to 6 months. This is sales. That happens all the time. Or maybe it was just a bad job altogether and it turned out you couldn't make 10K a month in that job. But as long as the product that the business is selling is legitimate and the business has their shit together somewhat, as long as those boxes are checked, you will get to 10K a month as a closer, and many times much higher. But people get on a job, and if they don't hit like that magical 10K a month number, they quit immediately and they just give up. But what is important if this has happened to you is what you're gonna do next. This is the punchline of the video. In high ticket sales, the most successful closers that I know, teams I've been on with closers making lots of money, they've all been on multiple offers. Every one of them has sold for multiple businesses, sometimes many different offers. I've been on more offers than I can count, and I make tons of money doing this. Offers means businesses. I rarely meet a closer who's doing 20K a month that was his first offer and he's just been on this offer for years. Very rare. So most people fail at this because they get into their first job and they don't make well into the 6 figures right away, so they just give up because they've been fed all this like over exaggerated propaganda from like other scammer social media people, and they just have believed it. But what I see the successful people do that get into this, they will start their first role. So they got into high ticket sales, they got their first closer role, and let's say they only ended up making 5K a month in that role for a decent business or a not so great business. And they just ended up doing that for a few months. And while they were working that job, making 5K a month or less, whatever, they were just searching for other closer roles at the same time. So they're getting some experience. They're taking sales calls, which you need to do. You need to start getting reps. That's the most important thing. They're getting some money coming in instead of just sitting on their couch being angry, right? They're building their skills at least. They're not focused on this number. And what they didn't do is they didn't get in there and then after like 1 or 2 months throw their hands up and get discouraged and like cry about it, you know? So what they basically did was they just said, okay, this wasn't like as great as I thought it was going to be in my first role, but I'm on calls. I'm getting experience, which is important if I want to succeed in this long term. I'm making money and getting some cash flow coming in. So what I'll do is I'm going to do this job to the best of my ability until I find the next one. I know that this space, the high ticket sales space, is legit, and there's tons of good closer jobs out there. And there's tons of other people doing this, making really good money too. So I'll just keep going until I get into my own sick opportunity, just like these other people. That's the mindset you need to have. And then because they're already in a good job and they have some experience, they're able to move on to another offer much easier, right? The second you get some experience doing this, this all becomes much easier, right? So they can start making way more money, making that 10K a month number and beyond, whether that was in their next job or the third one or whatever. But the point is this, those people that I just talked about who I see succeed at this, they're now making really good money doing high ticket sales, what you are trying to do. So they're doing it. It's happening in their life right now. They've created this scenario that you want to create. And all they did differently than most people is they didn't get discouraged when their first role didn't play out like fantasy land. It wasn't this life-changing amount of money in like month 2. So the internet has just like warped the shit out of people's minds. This is what I see happen to people all the time. So they'll get into this and within like 6 months, they aren't at 10K and then they just quit and give up. So they just think, oh, well, you just get into this high ticket sales and then in 2 weeks you make like 10K. Rarely happens. But people cannot seem to accept that, oh, maybe for a few months I might have to make less. And worst case scenario, I might have to do a couple of offers before I get there. Like that's some huge end of the world disaster. Like you can't wait a year to be making well over $200,000 a year. And for context, when I show this opportunity to adults like who are much older, who've worked like real jobs their whole life, and I show them how much money you can make like from your phone after like 6 months, they're like, what? No way. Is that AI? Right? They say that all the time. They're like, that's insane. That's incredible. I never had an opportunity like that. That's always their reaction. I'm like, yeah, it's the internet. But for most people, especially if they're younger, their mind is warped. They're like, oh, I have to work for a few months to get to $10,000 a month? Psh, sounds like a scam to me. So if this has happened to you, you've gotten into your first role and you didn't make the money you wanted to make or whatever, it just didn't turn out to be a good experience, this is what you need to do now. Ask yourself these 2 questions first. If you're in a role, am I getting consistent sales calls every day that people are showing up to? So I'm not talking about like you're getting all these calls scheduled and you're having tons of no-shows. That's a whole different issue. Are you getting sales calls every day that lots of people are showing up to? Okay, and then number 2 is, does this product or service have good results? Is the business actually delivering on the promises that they're making? If the answer to both of these is yes, then you just need to stick in the role. Okay, if you're getting constant sales calls and the product gets people results, the business is going to be making money. And that means you can make money as a salesperson. If the answer is no to those and you are just in a bad job, either you're not getting sales calls or the product that you're selling is shit, they don't have any leads, things like this, the business isn't making any money, you can either move on, cut your losses, and just search for the next job, or you can just stay in there and this is what I recommend you do, stay in there, get what experience you can, keep a good attitude, just stay on calls, stay generating leads, whatever they're having you do, keep getting some high ticket experience as much as you can, and search for the next job on the side. The problem is people do the first one. They quit and they're like, oh, I'll just search for another one, and then they start watching TV, get distracted, and cry and give up. Just stay in the role. Do a little work, get the experience that you can, and be like, all right, I'll just search for the other one on the side. That's how you're going to be the most successful. But just take a step back and say, there's tons of people doing this, making insane money as a closer, which means I can do it too, period. So if I'm not making that money, either I am the problem or this specific offer that I'm on is the problem. That's the answers. Just because this one job didn't work out doesn't mean the next one won't. Even if you searched, because this is what people will say to me when I try to tell them this stuff. They're like, oh, well, I searched for months for that first role. And even if you searched for months for that first job, you now have the compounded effort and experience of searching for good high ticket sales roles under your belt, which means it's going to be easier to find the next one. So why are you going to give up after you've gotten some experience? Because the first one didn't work out? I don't understand this. I was talking about this on my Instagram stories last night. Like if you give up when you get deep into something, giving up in the first couple of days is one thing. It's just like, what are you doing? But even worse is like you put all this work into something and you get like half the way there, almost the way there, because you never really know how close you are. But then you give up at that point, that's like even worse to me. You're just going to carry that habit, that inability to persevere when things get difficult into every single fucking thing you do for the rest of your life. If you quit on one thing after getting close and it gets difficult, your brain is going to lodge that pattern and you are going to do that until you die. Don't believe me? Quit. Give up. See what happens. Now, for more context on this, to give you a little bit more perspective, I've talked about this on the channel before, but I think it's a really good example that helps a lot. I have a family friend who's worth like 9 figures at this point, like a ton of money. And he did all of this through building home service businesses and then selling them. So build them and then sell them, build them and sell them over and over. And when I was young, I always looked up to him and I would ask him questions about money and getting rich whenever he and my dad were hanging out. My family doesn't have a lot of money, so it was like this novelty when he would come around. And once I got older and we could actually talk like adults, he told me that it took him over like 5 years at the start of trying and failing at these different service businesses before he ever got the first one to really work and be profitable. So for like 5 years, he was just poor. He was just broke, working like shitty jobs while trying to make these things work. Not 5 weeks, not 5 months, 5 years. This was probably like 30 years ago, like in the 90s, right? And he just never stopped. He just didn't give up. So he didn't get it. I tried to portray like how long a time frame 5 years is until you like make it, right? Because that's what social media content portrays it as. It's like when you make it, like it's some finish line, because it isn't. You're never going to stop working. But it's like people can't even get 6 months into this and they get discouraged. I've worked with people before where I'm just like, give them all the help they need. And I'm like, come on, like, let's do this. I'm here. I call them. I'm following up with them all the time. Like, come on. And they just ghost me. They give up after like 3 to 6 months. I'm like, it's been 3 months, bro. So like, I have examples of people in my life that are worth like 9 figures who it took them 5 years to get to like, I don't know, 6 figures. And now that dude's worth a colossal amount of money. Like, that's so much fucking money, bro. You know how much money that is? 9 figures? But what if he had done what 90% of people in high ticket sales do? Oh, my first job didn't work out. This is too hard for me. This doesn't work for me. I'm a unique, special case. This is a scam. I quit. So just some perspective, because this type of communication is what worked for me. Okay, when people told it to me like this, like, hey, you're fucking not doing shit, bro. Like, you need to wake up, dude. This isn't social media where everything just feels good and you just try for a couple of months and your entire life you live like some Egyptian pharaoh. You know? So just some perspective, because another thing that always helped me, this type of like stories or whatever, his example always helped me to come back to reality and be like, oh, I'm not trying hard enough, not even close. I'm being a baby. If I have to work at this for years, then I will. Period. So do with this information whatever you want. I'm just trying to help you. And some final encouragement, because that's how I like to end all the videos. We're at like the beginning of an amazing opportunity that everyone in 5 to 10 years is going to try and be doing, right? AI is coming. It's going to take tons of jobs. And where are all those people going to go? To their phone and to the internet, to these other make money opportunities. Mark my words, that is what is going to happen. AI is not even, that fucking steamroller chainsaw has not even begun to move. It's moving like 1 mile an hour right now. Wait till it gets to 100 miles an hour and it's just chomping people's industries to pieces. Where are they going to go? This stuff, to the internet. So you're right here at the beginning of something that you're going to quit doing before you reap all these benefits of like you being early to this. You get what I'm saying? So there are people creating new offers and new businesses every single day in the high ticket space. So you are never going to run out of good opportunities or good jobs in this space. This right now is a criminally good opportunity. It's just going to take some upfront work for you to get your foot in the door. What do you think I'm here for? Is to help people do that. Now, some more perspective. Can you land a 10K a month role in your first job and hit that in the first like 1 to 2 months and be good? Yeah, that happens all the time. Extremely common. It's just not every offer. But what's also common is the scenarios I described above. Maybe your first job isn't the best, so you get a few months of experience and then you jump to a better one. And then 6 to 12 months from now, you're making 15K a month. And then a year, 18 months from now, you're making 20K a month and beyond. Those are realistic progressions. And you're doing it at home with a ton of flexibility and freedom, building a skill that will benefit you for life. Sales. How's that not a fantastic fucking opportunity? So I talk to people all the time, whether it's in the DMs, in my program, on voice notes, FaceTime calls, whatever. And I think the biggest thing that would help more people is they would just come into this with a more non-entitled, positive attitude. Like, hey, I'm excited about this and I'm willing to do the work for as long as it takes. If more people had that attitude, because that's what I had, you won't get discouraged if it takes a little longer. Quit worrying about the timeline and just do the work. Just be like, this is a great opportunity that's been verified. Tons of people are doing this. I just need to work hard and find a good role. And if it's not my first one, that's okay, because my next one will be. So that's the end of the video. If you want my help getting a closer role or a setter role, go to the links in the description. Until next time.